we're using EcoCash. Today, EcoCash has over 2,500,000 registered subscribers. Isn't that, fantastic? Certainly, credit must go to Econet Wireless, leaders and champions in the IT, industry. As the smartphone penetration in Africa increases, mobile education becomes a stronger reality for the African continent, opening a world of new possibilities in education. The increasing affordability and availability of mobile and tablet devices can and will help mobile education solutions transform education for at least 1.2 billion school pupils, 160 million tertiary education students, and many more lifelong learners and researchers all over the world. Our young generation is now hooked to their smartphones and other devices. Instead of fighting with them over these devices, we must seize the opportunity to encourage them and groom them to become smarter learners. This generation can now access quality information from anywhere and at any time. It's a 24-hour service every day of the year. Across Africa, a variety of devices are increasingly being used to disseminate and display teaching and learning materials in electronic and digital formats. As costs of such devices continue to fall, and as the devices themselves become more widely available, we must seize the opportunity to revamp our teaching and learning styles. Most tertiary students in Africa cannot afford core educational materials. They have to share textbooks, photocopy them, or utilize libraries which are in most cases not up to date in terms of resources acquisition. However, in many instances, students simply go without books. With technology, we can now change this unsatisfactory situation. Ladies and gentlemen, internet connectivity can provide access to masses of educational materials available online. Low-cost, handheld, e-reading devices can store more than 1,000 books. Furthermore, digital content can be updated faster and more regularly than printed material. Such a content can easily be displayed in ways that are engaging and interactive for this new generation of learners. In some cases, this content at very low cost can be a source of empowerment to the students, who then are expected to exhibit better attributes as graduates than those trained in the 20th century. Distinguished guests, this is why we are here today, to empower the new generation of learners. EcoSchool is the latest initiative from Econet Wireless aimed at transforming our truly education for a new generation, for a better future of Zimbabwe. As a valued and strategic partner, Econet Wireless has proven once again to be at the forefront of technology. The University of Zimbabwe welcomes the opportunity to participate in yet another first from Econet as we continue to support and invest in our students. By using technology, we broaden the horizon of our students. We open their eyes to the rapidly changing world. We must not limit our students to just the education they need in order to pass their examination. We must also build them into global citizens capable of being good knowledge ambassadors of our country to the rest of the world. Once again, allow me, ladies and gentlemen, to express our debt of gratitude to Econet Wireless for this wonderful, productive cooperation. I also wish to thank all the staff members at the University of Zimbabwe who have cooperated with Econet to make this event possible. It is my fervent hope and desire that all students and staff who are benefiting from this latest Econet intervention will use the devices in a responsible manner that should empower them to achieve academic excellence in their endeavors. Long live Econet Wireless. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Nyambura. I was sitting next to Isaiah, which starts with an I there, the gentleman who is an incredible master of ceremony. He really liked your speech. In fact, we were debating whether this was written here or at Econet. It is a very excellent, excellent speech. I was a bit worried when you were talking about us who were educated in the older century, that we might not be as relevant. But what comforted me is that being an IT person, I realized that my job is going to be perpetual here, especially courtesy of Econet. Thank you very much for that very eloquent speech, and thank you for doing Isaiah's job well. This morning I was reading the Bible, like, and I'm not just saying it to impress the pastor there. And I was reading the story of Caleb and Gideon when they came back from Canaan, and they realized, they were the two people who realized that there were opportunities in Canaan rather than challenges in Canaan. So when I am looking at my Vice Chancellor, Professor Nyambura, and my CEO, Mr. Mboweni, I actually see Caleb and Gideon, the two people who are actually realizing that the challenges in the world can actually go ahead and be sorted through IT. Without further ado, I call upon Mr. Mboweni to come and give.
Vice Chancellor, Professor Nyambura, Pro-Vice Chancellors, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to say thank you to Prof. Nyambura for the very generous words of encouragement. I think this can only help us to be motivated to do even greater things. So allow me to verbalize my appreciation. Thank you so much. This morning, before I left my home, I picked up a seed. And it's a maize seed. It's too small, you may not be able to see it. But it will help me to emphasize a point. There is a miracle in this seed, in the sense that, small as it looks, you put it in the ground, you water it, and an incredible thing happens. in the sense that a plant comes up and fruits are produced from a single seed. This has caused me to stand in awe of our God, that He has packaged incredible ability in this small seed. But then a greater miracle is even here, you and I. And if you want to see how incredible the miracle is, you can go back to the book of Genesis chapter 1, when we read starting from 26 and go up to 28. In fact, in verse 28, there is a statement which I would like to capture there, which says, "Be fruitful and multiply." And it was a mandate that was given to mankind. Be fruitful and multiply. What it means, therefore, ladies and gentlemen, is that each and every one of us here has got that divine mandate, or shall I put it as a divine command, to be fruitful and to multiply. And what you are seeing today, without having to steal the thunder from my colleague, Mr. Mandirenga, is a testimony to that mandate that has been given to mankind. Be fruitful and multiply. I always challenge my colleagues in Econet that where we are in our offices, we are carrying immense capacity. And all we have to do is to recognize that capacity and begin to bring it out. Just like a maize seed will grow and produce those maize crops and produce multiple other seeds. Ladies and gentlemen, as we are here today, there is going to be a group of people that is going to judge this generation. And the way they judge the generation is to say, what did the people living in 2014 do for us? We look back and we hear testimonies of men and women who did incredible things. Today when we sit in an aeroplane, we do remember there are guys who started with this initiative and they looked foolish to other people. But today, an Airbus 380 is sent into the airspace because somebody realized there was capacity within them to do something. Ladies and gentlemen, what you are seeing today is a continuation of unleashing that capacity that has been stored in human beings. And what we are doing today is just that continuation. We know that greater things are possible. And these things will be unleashed as long as we realize the capacity that is stored within us. I thought this was a fundamental theme for me to paint before my colleague, Mr. Mandirenga, comes through. But before I continue, I would like to share with you some 3 videos of what has been made possible through minds coming together within Econet and producing some products that have transformed our environment. So take a moment, please, to look at these video clips.
When my husband passed away, it was not only a tragedy for the family, but as women, it left us vulnerable. I had to push on. Somehow I had to make it work. But my girls still had to drop out of school. Then, I was selected to receive a green kiosk from Econet. And that is when things really changed. Today, I'm a real businesswoman, selling a wide range of products and offering unique green solutions to my community. I am living testimony that anything is possible.
By providing innovative solutions, Econet Wireless is empowering millions of people and transforming communities. Econet Wireless, inspired to change your world.
Life was not always like this. We were losing a lot of babies. A simple vaccine was all that was needed to save their young lives. But the vaccines needed to be kept cold from 2 to 8 degrees Celsius against our African heat. We had to throw away lots of these, and it was such a challenge. Then Econet, through its Energize the Chain program, installed close proximity refrigerated containers. These simply use the excess power from the wireless base stations. Now, we don't have to worry about that anymore.
By creating innovative solutions, Econet Wireless is promoting community transformation and joins the fight against the top 5 child-killer diseases. Econet Wireless, inspired to change your world.
My time on the water might be over, but for my boy, the work has just begun. Today, with this new technology, fishing is now much easier. It helps fishermen find the fish, and sellers speak to buyers. Without it, you might find yourself alone. It's what holds this community together. And brings hope to every new day.
Econet Wireless, inspired to change your world.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Chinese have a word. In fact, it is the same word for problem and opportunity. And so an individual can choose to focus on the problems or to focus on the opportunity. In Econet, we've made a choice that we will not talk about problems, we'll talk about opportunities. We are solution providers. So wherever there is a problem, that's our space. We step in to provide the solutions. There is nothing impossible because within us, God has put the capacity that will unlock tremendous solutions and tremendous ability. Allow me to conclude by saying this. We started off in Econet focusing on solutions, which we call for Zimbabweans by Zimbabweans. But we have since moved on, providing solutions for the world by Zimbabweans. We are even looking at producing IP. If IP can be produced and kept by the developed nations, we believe this is our turn to make sure that we come up with products and services that the IP belongs to Zimbabwe. And indeed, we take these products to the world. Allow me to invite my colleague this stage, possibly do the invitation. My colleague, Mr. Mandirenga, who will take us from here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Mboweni. It's time to seed. It's time to seed education. It's time to seed to the new generation. At this point in time, allow me to call upon Mr. Darlington, quote unquote, EcoCash Mandirenga.
Your Excellencies, Ambassadors here present, Vice Chancellor of the University of Zimbabwe, Professor Nyambura, Vice Chancellors from the other universities, Pro-Vice Chancellors, Dean of Students, Directors, staff, management of the University of Zimbabwe, members of the media, lastly, but not least, the students. It's your time. I want to begin by thanking Professor Nyambura for a very good advertising job that he did for us. he talked about EcoCash and mentioned that today EcoCash has over 2.5 million people registered on it. And there was some clap, but I must say that the clap was lukewarm. And it's not my jealousy, we're going to teach you. But if you're sincere about it, let's hear another clap for EcoCash. I'm not yet done. This is not an EcoCash meeting. I want to correct the number that he shared. He mentioned 2.5 million. I would like to add another million. So if that clap was for 2.5 million, I'd like to hear a clap for 3.5 million. Because that's where we are at today and growing every day. The important thing is not just the numbers, but it is what the innovation is doing for the people. At Econet Wireless, we say that we are inspired to change your world. You must have picked from Mr. Mweni's presentation, and we consistently acknowledge that the inspiration that we're talking about here is inspiration that comes from the highest source. And because our inspiration is from the highest source, we believe that we can do anything. The change that we're talking about is change that comes about when you come into contact with any one of our products and services. You may not even have to be the one using it, but just interacting with the person that is using an Econet service or product, your life will be changed. The way you live will be changed. The way you do business will be changed. And today, the way the students study will change. We have taken on the burden of identifying all the areas that are painful for our nation. And as we've been doing our study, we've realized that these painful areas are not unique to Zimbabwe. They are also felt in many other African countries. We have a problem of power. We have a problem of health delivery systems. We have a problem in education. We have a problem in financial inclusion, where in Zimbabwe, for example, only 7% of the people of Zimbabwe had access to financial services. But with the introduction of EcoCash, we are happy to announce that today, 36% of our adult population is now financially included. We believe that we must identify areas of need. And we have observed that those areas that have got the greatest need, they are the ones that unfortunately have the least assistance. And we have stepped up and we have said we are going to go in there and do something about it, which is why the videos that Mr. Mboweni shared with you, you will see that when women lose their husbands and they're left with children to look after, when unemployment, formal employment is decreasing, what do? You empower individuals to start their own businesses. So you introduce the green kiosk and enable them to trade in a more convenient environment. What do you do when you have a community that relies on fishing for their livelihood? And for them to fish at night, they need some form of lighting. What do you do when you have a population that does not have access to alternative and affordable power? You introduce Econet solar. What do you do when people are dying in remote areas, not because we do not have doctors, not because we do not have medicines, but because the medicines are going bad because of the fluctuating temperatures? What do? You introduce Energize the Chain. We have realized as Econet that every base station that we install has got excess power. So we've decided to use that excess power to install refrigerators where the nearby hospitals can store their medicines. People are dying of snake bites. Coming on to today's meeting, what do you do when you hear that 60 million children of school-going age are not in school? What do you do? What do you do when you hear that at least 50% of those children live in Africa? What do you do? What do you do when you hear that 47% of those that are not in school may never go to school at all? What do you do? What do you do, Professor, when you hear that Zimbabwe's tertiary enrollment is sitting at only 6% compared to the global average of 26%? What do you do? What do you do when you talk to students and they're telling you that they've got many challenges? You talk to their lecturers, many challenges. What do you do when you hear that reading materials are not available? What do you do? What do you do when you hear that when they are available, they are outdated? What do you do? What do you do that when they are available and they are outdated, you have to share them with 20 other students? What do you do? What do you do when you see that the textbooks have deteriorated to a point where some of the words you've got to guess what it is? What do you do? What do you do when the textbooks that are available are expensive and out of reach of most of the students who have already sacrificed to pay the fees? What do you do? What do you do when some of the textbooks are so heavy that the students are getting deformed? Practice in surgery. What do you do, Mr. Moweni, when you see that students have now turned into pirates? They're going on the internet and they're downloading books illegally. How to open a book? What do you do? Ladies and gentlemen, at Econet Wireless, we don't just ask the questions, we provide the solutions. Allow us to please introduce EcoSchool. Education for a new generation. What is EcoSchool? I'm very much impressed with the presentation that Professor Nyakura gave us, and Master of Ceremony, Isaiah's partner. I don't know if your name starts with I as well, but for you, we will say MC stands for Munuchaini. EcoSchool is an educational platform that provides scholars